Hi, my name's Colin and this is the Action Figure Resource video channel, the place for all your action figure news, reviews, tutorials and guides. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I hope you enjoy the videos. Today I'm taking a look at Batman The Dark Knight Collection Wave 2 figures released by Kenner in 1992. As with Wave 1, these figures came on a standard backing card, except the Joker figure, with the bubble enclosed figure on the bottom of the card and the top half featuring the Batman logo and an image of Michael Keaton. On the reverse of the cards, there was an image of all the figures and vehicles available in Series 1 and Series 2, and also any instructions for their action features and accessories. All the Dark Knight figures had Kenner's 5 points of articulation on the head, shoulders and hips. Also, all the Batman variants in this line were based on the 1984 Kenner Superpowers Batman figure, but retooled and repainted. The left hand on each of these figures was sculpted with a clenched fist, whereas his right hand was sculpted open in order that he could hold his many different accessories. Most of the Batman variants also came with a removable cloth cape that were attached around his neck with a C-clip. Unfortunately, the cloth that the cape was made from was of very poor quality and the C-clips often broke. As a result, most of the loose Batman variant figures are sold without the cape. Wave 2 of the Dark Knight collection only had 3 figures. These were Power Wing Batman, Thunder Whip Batman, and Knockout Joker. The first figure we're going to look at today is the Power Wing Batman. Don't forget to subscribe below, smash that like button, and click on the bell icon and select all to be informed of all my future videos.
ActionFigureResource.com. Yesterday's toys, today's treasures.
The Power Wing Batman in Wave 2 resembled the Crime Attack Batman from Wave 1, but repackaged for this series and with a different accessory. He was also re-released and repackaged for the Batman Returns line. However, for the Batman Returns line, he had a solid gold suit with a black logo and belt. His power glider in the Batman Returns line was also gold. As with most of these figures, Kenner still used the 1984 Superpowers Batman sculpt, but with Kenner's standard 5 points of articulation and without the knee articulation. This Batman variant wore a solid black suit with gold and black logo on his chest and a gold belt. The Bat logo was painted rather than sculpted onto his chest plate on this figure, which meant in some cases it was painted at an angle. He also did not have any pupils painted on his eyes. As a result, the only paint applied to this figure was on the logo and his belt, so there was very little room for error on the paintwork, except for the sometimes crooked logo. His accessory was his Power Wing glider, which had 2 footholds to hold Batman in the standing position when he was mounted on it. It also had a spring-loaded firing mechanism at the front that fired a large gold harpoon-shaped missile. All in all, this was a nice classic-looking Batman with some good detailing. But because he was really just another superpowers variant Batman, he wasn't really very unique, and in my mind is well overpriced for what he is, unless you want to buy a loose figure at the lower range of the scale. Mint on a card, this figure sells for between $20 and $45. However, when researching for this video, I found a couple that did sell for over $100. However, these are an exception rather than the rule. Loose the figure sells for between $4 and $10. Bear in mind that a lot of the loose variants of Batman do come without the cape, so the higher end of prices you would expect to get all the accessories as well as the cape with the figure. The second Batman variant was a Thunder Whip Batman. This figure was another one that was also repackaged and re-released in the Batman Returns line, but with purple rather than gold accessories. This figure, as with the Power Wing Batman and many of the other Batman variants, was also moulded in an all-black suit with a gold belt and logo painted onto his chest plate. But this Batman also had a wheel on his back. When this wheel was spun, it also made his right arm spin and any weapons he was holding. He came with two weapons, a Thunder Whip and a Ninja Star style weapon. Although the Ninja Stars were not featured in the final cut of the movie, they were featured in the original cut. As yet another variant that closely resembled the Power Wing and Crime Attack figures, I feel that this is another overpriced figure. Yet it still seems popular with collectors. Maybe this is because of its rather classic look. Mint on a card, the figure sells for between $10.45 and $39.99. Loose he sells for between $8.50 and $12. The third and last figure in Wave 2 of the Dark Knight collection was the Knockout Joker. On the packaging for this figure, the Michael Keaton image was replaced by that of Jack Nicholson. The reverse of the card had instructions and pictures at the top on how to use the Power Punch accessory, and the bottom half of the card featured the same images of the Wave 1 and 2 figures and vehicles as the other cards in this line. This was one of the few figures in the Dark Knight collection that was a unique and new sculpt rather than a repainted version of a figure from the Superpowers collection. The detailing on this figure was excellent. However, he resembled the cartoon character more than he did the Jack Nicholson character from the movie. The paintwork on this figure was quite shoddy and of poor quality, with a lot of overlapping and bleeding of the colours in many places. The colour scheme was also completely different to that of the movie. Here, he was dressed in a navy blue waistcoat with an orange neck scarf, a bright green belt, and orange trousers or pants with purple gloves. The articulation on his shoulders was a bit too high on this figure and made him look as though he was wearing shoulder pads, whereas if they had lowered the articulation joints a little bit more, it would have looked perfectly okay. The Knockout Joker came with two accessories. The first was a small plastic yellow pistol with a power flag sticking out of the end. The second accessory was his Power Fist Basooka, which was retooled from the Police Academy line. This had a spring trigger, and when the button was pressed, the fist was released and popped out of the end. This action feature relates to a scene in the movie where the Joker is watching the news with his gang when a report about Batman comes on, and the Joker uses a similar device to punch a hole in the TV. This is one of the hardest of all the Kenner Batman figures to find, and this is reflected in his price on the secondary market. Mint on the card, the knockout Joker figure sells for between $50 and a high-end price of $110. However, the most common price is around the $80 mark. Loose, he sells for between $25 and $52. My next video is going to be on the Kenner Deluxe Crime Master Edition Batman figures released in 1991. This line included Batman with Claw Climber, Batman with Blast Shield, and Batman with Night Glider. I am also going to be taking a look at the 1990 Batman vehicles. These included the Batcycle, the Joker Cycle, Batjet, Batcopter, Turbojet, Batwing, the original Batmobile, the Batman Bowler Bullet, and the Batman Strikewing. Many of the loose figures sold without the accessories, and in Batman's case, he is often also missing his cape. Therefore, the figures complete with the accessories and his cape generally go for a much better price. Please note, all the prices in this video were correct at the time of filming in January 2021. These prices are not an offer or solicitation to buy any of these figures at these prices. For more information on how to grade and value your action figures, check out my other videos here. You can find more of my Batman videos here. Make sure you subscribe below, smash that like button, click on the bell icon and select all to be informed of all my future videos. And don't forget to download your free collector's guide here.
actionfigureresource.com. Yesterday's toys, today's treasures.